Hello YouTube, this is Mr. Saskadragon, and welcome to another episode of Playing with the Prophecies. This time we're going to be talking about some of the specific spells that you would use in your Prophecy deck. So we start with Spellbook of Wisdom. Target one face-up spell, cast a type monster on the field, and activate one of these effects. 1. It's unaffected by other spells effects this turn. 2. It's unaffected by trap effects this turn. So you get to choose. So if you're going to go in for an attack, sometimes people go for traps mostly because then it gets rid of it. Things like Mirror Force don't work. Things like Bottomless will not work if you summon a monster. And other cards that they try and get rid of your monster. The really good thing about Spellbook Wisdom is if you summon a monster, they're going to try and get rid of it. So you go for traps. If you're going to go in for an attack, you go for traps. Sometimes you set this card on the field because sometimes they want to get rid of your beat sticks. They'll go things like Darkhold, doesn't work on my monster. A Book of Moon to put it face down, oh dear, that doesn't work. Smashing Ground, that wouldn't work because they would get rid of it. So there are many ways you could use Spellbook of Wisdom. And also it's a quick play, so you can play in your turn, or you can play in your opponent's turn when it's face down. And also you can chain this card as well, which makes it even easier. So if they're going for, oh, I don't like that face down, MST, oh yeah, I'll activate its effect by spells. Oh dear, you can't activate that Darkhold. So there are many good things about Spellbook of Wisdom. Spellbook of Power. Target one face-up spell, cast a monster you control. Until the end phase, it gains 1,000 attack points. Also, in the end phase, each time it destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can add one Spellbook spell card from your deck to your hand. You can only activate one Spellbook of Power per turn. So this card really is good because it can power up some of your smaller cards and really start poning your opponent. And when it does destroy a monster by battle, it gets you another spellbook, so it's another recruiter card. And of course, it's really good because it really starts powering up your monsters. And once they start powering up, you can literally take out some of their beat sticks and you get a nice little reward afterwards after you've destroyed their monster. So Spellbook of Power is a really good card. Now, a lot of people will run this in 3s. I specifically run this in 2 because sometimes too many Spellbook powers can clog your hand. So it depends. It depends on the preference of the player who's playing Prophecies. Spellbook of Life. This is like the Monster Reborn of spellbooks. Banish one spellcast type monster from your graveyard and reveal one other spellbook spell card in your hand to target one spellcaster type monster in your graveyard. Special summon this target in face-up attack position and equip it with this card. The equipped monster's level is increased by the level of the monster that was banished from this card's activation. You can only activate one Spellbook of Life per turn. Really good card. Now I learnt just the other day, even if you MST this card, the monster stays on the field because once it's already activated, you've already used its requirements already. The equip part of it is about the level of the monster, so really no one really cares about that. So it's not like you destroy this equip card and it blows up. No, that ruling was changed, which was really good. But you know, if I'm wrong there, correct me. But I did see on the Yu-Gi-Oh ruling page. So this card really does come in handy. Reveal a spellbook, which most of the cards in Prophecies are spellbooks. Banish a spellcaster. Well, that's easy because mostly everything in the graveyard is spellcaster, and brings a spellcaster monster from the graveyard back to the field in face-up attack position, which is really good because you can bring back your High Priestess multiple times, or any other beatstick you want, your Dark Magicians, or your Emperor Prophecy, or any other level 5 or high beatsticks have been destroyed. Spellbook of Entity. Spellbook of Entity. Target one of your banished spell cards, except Spellbook of Entity, and add that target to your hand. You can only activate one Spellbook of Entity per turn. Okay, so most of this deck is required on banishing due to the effect of the High Priestess. So you banish a card, and most of the time you activate Spellbook of Entity to bring it back to your hand. Now, I personally only run one of these cards in my Prophecy deck because I don't really need any more than one. Because if you draw this in multiples, it is a dead draw. And if you've got the High Priestess and you've activated her effect, or you've activated something like the Spellbook of Fate. So sometimes it's a good thing, sometimes it's a bad thing. But it's a really good card when you actually get a card back, because once you've banished most of your spellbook cards, you can actually just pick one and go, oh, I need that one, you know, and start activating that card, and the cycle continues. Now, this is really a good card, the Grand Spellbook of Tower. I was speaking to one of my friends earlier, and I was saying to him, it really looks like something out of Halo. It's like one of the like Citadel type things. It's really good artwork as well. But what does this card do? It's the field spell for the Prophecies, and once per turn during your standby phase, if you have a spellcast type monster on your side of the field or in the graveyard, you can return one Spellbook spell card from your graveyard to the bottom of your deck, except the Grand Spellbook of Tower. Then draw one card. When this card is destroyed by your opponent's cards and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon one spellcaster type monster from your hand or deck whose level is less or equal to the number of Spellbook spell cards in your graveyard. Right, so this card really has two powerful effects, because the first one is you've got to have certain requirements, where the fact of you have to have a spellcaster type monster on your side of the field or in the graveyard, which is not too hard. Then you get to put a spellbook to the bottom of your deck to draw a card. Extra draw power. Okay, downside one, you can't use another Grand Spellbook of Tower to the bottom of your deck, which is understandable. And two, if someone goes MST, Heavy Storm, or any other way of destroying this card, depending on how many spellbook cards you have in the graveyard, you can special summon that monster. And it does not matter which position you stick it in. Not me. So that's really good. And of course, it's probably one of the most expensive cards to get anyway, between £30 to £40 so far. But this makes the deck engine go a bit faster. And it's really, really good. And of course, you know, you're going to have loads of spellbooks in your graveyard, and you can get, instead of just drawing one card per turn, you can draw two, which sometimes really does come in handy. Spellbook of Fate. If you control a spellcaster type monster, you can banish up to 3 spellbook spell cards from your graveyard and apply these effects. If you banish one card, return one set spell or trap card on the field to the hand. If you banish 2, change one monster on the field to face down defense position or face up attack position. If you banish 3, banish one card your opponent controls. So that card really is good because you get the options of banishing 1, 2 or 3, and the more you banish, the better the effect is. You know, enough said for that card, and also it's a quick play, so you can do it in either player's turn. Now the Recruiter of the Spellbook. Spellbook of Secrets. Add one Spellbook card from your deck to your hand, except Spellbook of Secrets. You can only activate one Spellbook 6 per turn. So one good thing I can say about this is this card probably won't be hit by the ban list, because you can only activate once per turn. So really, you can't be screwed over with that card. You can't activate multiples, and you know, you're not going to go and search for another Spellbook of Secrets. Some people do, which I think is stupid, but they do. But you get to choose between your Spellbook of Wisdom, your Power, your Spellbook of Life, the Spellbook of Entity. You could search for a Spellbook of Tower, and a Spellbook of Fate. So at the moment, you've got these spellbook cards out at the moment. 7 spellbook cards actually released to date. So when the next set comes out, there'll be some more spellbook cards. So Spellbook of Secrets could search for some more cards. So far at the moment, these spellbook cards are the best cards to use. And using in multiples, this Prophecy deck can really go forward. Of course, spellbooks generally do not run any traps if you're running the turbo version, because to be honest, if you run traps in a spellbook of Prophecy deck, it's kind of silly. Some people do, I personally do not. I think just running spells is so much easier because you get the extra draw power, and you know, there's so many different cards you can use and variants of it. Some use Compulsory Activation Device, Pot of Dualities, because of the fact of, you know, annoying things like Thunder King. Thunder King does stop this deck, I'll give you that one, it does, because there's a lot of the draw power. But some people build their decks around specifically to blow up Thunder King because it will literally cripple the deck. Some people just run turbo variants, whereas you just keep drawing, and then spamming the field and then going good game. So overall, you know, the deck is very, very specific, but there's different variants of it. So please tell me what you think of Prophecies, especially what type of spellbooks do you use and what multiples do you use them in. So this is Mr. Sasuke Dragon signing out. And remember, only real men use Waterpon.